from a community-based to survive. It is definitely more of a corporate structure, but that is the way of the land. We have to stay up with that to attract doctors. We have doctors and nurses getting out of medical school, nursing school, that have many places they can go. We have to offer competitive salaries, and we have to have the right equipment, and this is one of the problems we're having with our lab and our MRI machines and that. Otherwise, we will lose our doctors, and that is no benefit to our community. That is such a negative point, and I think the more we can attract the right people, we don't have to send people out of town. It's just all works together, and it's not being understood, I think. It's my opinion.
In attracting doctors, are you somewhat referencing the life point stuff? Or?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm talking about just doctors in general.
Okay.
We started a residency program, years back, and it's been amazing. We've kept doctors every year. We have graduates. I think we've always kept some of the doctors here locally, and it's been a huge, huge benefit to our community. So, as a board, I feel like we're always looking forward of what's coming up. The healthcare is constantly changing. Government rules and regulations are constantly changing, and that's why it's so important that we be involved and stay on top of that.
So it's I can make sure I'm getting everything. Your view is that you're providing everything under the lease in terms of financials yearly. The policies and procedures portion is not something that you guys are required to follow, and even if you were following it, it wouldn't have any effect on whether or not the district board should be or not approving the building
Correct.
projects. And that you guys have tried to reach out to the district board to speak with them, and they are not willing to engage?
That's my viewpoint at this
Okay.
time. Like I say, I've personally called 2 individuals and asked them, and I haven't gotten a response back from them.
Is that meeting proposal something, I guess, that would be public, or you would come here, or with lawyers, without lawyers?
I don't think it would be public. I
Okay.
mean, it's a
Yeah,
contract.
they do executive sessions and stuff. Yeah, I'm not, just asking.
So it would be under executive session, and everyone would abide by whatever the mediator, if they want a mediator, that is one option, or just sitting down knowing that we've been in the community together 20, 30 plus years or more. So I hope that's what can happen. I think that's the reasonable thing to happen. And I think if both sides are willing to feel what's best for the community, there's give and take on both sides. So I want to tell you, we're sitting here waiting for them to say yes, they'd like to do it. They've had the opportunity twice.
With the New Year coming, I guess, if we say all 4 of us met this time next year, what would you hope would be different?
One thing I would hope we'd have resolve this COVID-19 issues. I mean,
I think maybe both sides could agree on that, right? Maybe one
I
thing
would
both
hope
could agree
so.
on. Yeah.
It's put a strain on, especially the nurses and the doctors and the technicians and stuff. And I just feel for them. They thought they had everything over with, and now with Christmas we're getting loaded again, and probably with New Year's we're going to get impact again. And now crossing the border is a big issue for us now. People are coming up in taxi cabs and Ubers and Border Patrol dropping them off, saying you got to take care of them, and we will take care of them. But it's all a strain, not only monetary but emotionally on the everything. So going through that, then going through this issue of having disputes between the district board and this board, it just seems like the best thing for the community is sit down and get everything resolved, as long as both sides are saying we're willing to give and take on some issues. And that, as a chairman, is my desire for the beginning of 22.
Anything else you guys think I'm missing, or just want to add lastly?
No, yeah, but you know what, I will add this, since we're talking about setting the record straight on a lot of things. Yeah, and I've heard it at the district meetings, the community and district has been critical of the fact that we've employed a lot of local physicians and brought them into the hospital setting.
Talking about the private practices
Private
that have been
practice,
bought by
correct,
YRMC?
Correct. There's this misinformation that we're going out and soliciting these community doctors and bringing them in, and quite honestly, it's been the other way around. We've actually turned physicians away. We've had a tremendous amount of local physicians wanting to be bought up by the hospital or being incorporated into the hospital, and that's just a matter of modern day finances. Doctors no longer want to be in the practice of managing a practice. They want to practice medicine, but they don't want the headaches of Medicare rules, CMS rules, IRS rules. They don't want the day-to-day function of operating the business. They want to provide the medical service that they want to provide and not have to deal with all of that stuff. And I get it. That's just we're seeing that with a lot of the new doctors coming right out of med school. A lot of them want to be employed physicians. None of them want to start their own practice because it's just too costly. And so, we went through a rash there where there was a lot of doctors in the community who had approached us to want to be part of the hospital. And we looked at that, and we made the decision to start employing some of those, because the alternative to that was many of them just wanted to close their practice and retire. And we know that, you have a few handful of doctors start retiring in the community this size, then you start having a necessity for services. And so, we took that in mind with what's in the best interest of the community. Let's bring these docs in, let's relieve them of some of their financial burdens that they've been dealing with on their own practices, and let them continue to practice medicine and treat the patients in this community. So, there's a lot of criticism as to why we did that, and quite honestly, it's all been for the betterment of this community, and to be able to provide and have doctors here. And we have to recruit doctors, and it's not easy. We love Yuma, but there's a lot of people that come from outside of Yuma that aren't too fond of the weather here or whatever it might be. So we've got to convince these doctors to come and practice here, and it's not easy. And sometimes you have to offer, the pay incentives to do so, and that's just part of having to do what we have to do to maintain the healthcare in this community. Because if we don't do that, they're not going to be enticed to come here, and we're going to end up with another shortage of docs. So, it's not a detriment to this community to have doctors employed here by the facility. It actually bolsters the amount of doctors that we have in the community. It allows us to keep these practicing here and recruit more doctors to come in, because, if you've ever had to make an appointment here lately, you're still waiting almost a month to get in to see some of these doctors in the community, and you shouldn't have to wait that long.
I think one more point that I've noticed is people have said we have people on our board that are, one was the gastro was bought out by the hospital, and the doctor was still on our board who is not, he resigned, and if there's a conflict like that, they resign. The board does not have that happen. So I think there is some misinformation there of what makes up our board. We have a standard of who has to be on the board, not who, but community people, physicians.
The structure.
The structure of the board has to be met in a certain way, and we have to abide by that. And when there's a conflict like that, board members will resign on their own. They understand that, and we don't want there to be miscommunication. I just think that people need to realize that we really do follow our rules, and we try and do the best job we possibly can. That's why we're here.
Anything you want to add, Woody? Or?
They've talked a little bit about it. I think since I've been here, I've gone through, seen 5 CEOs, and by far, my mind is Dr. Trenchell has been one of the strongest, if not the strongest one that we've had. I realize when you're in that position, you make decisions, and you can't please all the people all the time. That's just natural, and I understand that, but my comments for him is I think he's one of the best CEOs. And I'll be quite candid, when we were out looking at LifePoint and seeing other CEOs, sometimes you can just tell that the person's heart's not in it, you know. And I think Dr. Trenchell is way above what I would consider ordinary CEO, especially of this size of the hospital, and the decisions that we, the board, have to make, and we get the information from not only the CEO, but also other executives giving us the information. So, and as far as Louis was talking about our doctors, this community's age of the average doctor is substantially on the high side. So you've got to think in the future how you're going to, how are you going to meet these individuals' need, and a large percent of the doctors that we have hired have come to us and saying, I want to practice medicine. I don't want to be administrator at my office and stuff. So for the better of the community and everything, and the patients of this community, we have hired a number of physicians and practices, other ones like Laura was talking about. That people are having some financial issues and either have to give it up, and we're willing to say, hey, the community needs this, so we're willing to step in and do it for the patients in the community. That's our number one goal, is making sure the patients are taken care of in a safely manner, and making sure that as much as possible we can meet the community needs. Yes, there's some things out there we just can't do at this point in time. But I can tell you one of the newer ones that we've been is we got, I think, one of the best cancer centers, in the state. And I'm extremely proud of Dr. Chandra and the work that him and his staff is doing over there. And I hope through a lot of this information people will understand what all is available here. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to hearing from the district board.
Anything else?
Anything else from you?
I'm good. Yeah, I got enough, I think.